Running your business when your emotions are all over the place. Hi, my name's Liz, and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name's Anna, and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. So we're talking about being all over the place, which I know that I can relate to, you can relate to, I'm sure everyone listening can relate to. We are, how do you know how you're going to feel from one day to the next? I don't know. I woke up this morning and I felt really like, well, we had a 3-day weekend when we're recording this. It was like another public holiday in South Africa. And so I've come in like, is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? I'm tired. I'm a bit fuzzy headed. And it's like, what I'd really love to do today is just be in bed, to be honest with you. That's what I'd love to do. But, got some businesses to run, so that's not going to happen. But I'm not firing on all cylinders, which can be a bit frustrating when you're a business owner, can't it?
It can
Yeah.
be, especially batch record a load of podcasts. It can be a challenge, but we're here for it. We're here for the challenge.
We're here.
Similar to you, I found that towards the end of last week, I was like kind of just struggling to kind of maintain any kind of momentum in my business. And the beginning of this week, it's felt a bit sort of sluggish. I've actually been like, come on, Liz, you can do this. Whereas, the weeks before, a couple of like 2.5 weeks leading up to that, I was like, boom, 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 like firing all cylinders, and it was going great. But I know the reason is, like, I know you're not very well, you're sort of battling a bit of a virus, but for me, it's my menstrual cycle. So I knew I wasn't sleeping very well last week, which always happens as I head into getting my period. And then now I'm kind of like coming out of that. So but it seems to, and we talk about cyclical living and tracking our cycles, and like moon cycles as well, and how that, because that's another thing that you and I business, particularly with the podcast, we are thinking about what with the moon and that particular cycle, what are people thinking, feeling, emotions, what they're experiencing, so that there's something relevant to talk about. But it can be hard to stay on top of it all, can't it? It can be hard to stay these feelings and emotions. And I guess the best advice is to be aware and to just ride it as best you can. Like, when you need to rest, wherever possible, rest. Like, if you could go to bed now, I'd be sad, but we've got a slot where we have to record our podcast, and then you've got a client in a little while, and so sometimes you don't get that opportunity. But if you do get the opportunity to rest, then you should.
And I will, after I've seen my client, I'll go home and I will probably just go and like chill on my bed and just finish up some work on my computer. And I'm like counting down the hours until I can do that, I'll be honest. Whereas perhaps sometimes I'll be like, go to the gym, or, go for a walk, or I don't know, do something with the kids, So I think it's like self-care, like that level of self-care is so important. I was never like that naturally. For me, rest has always been something I looked at as a weakness for myself. I just think that I was always on the go. That was a sort of like a bit of a trauma response, and I'm still very much naturally like that, but I've become much better at resting when I need to. And I think the awareness is so important because in a way, if you've got a regular menstrual cycle, it's relatively easy. You can kind of look at your calendar and you can be like, well, I know I'm going to be on period that week, so that's not going to be a good week for a massive launch or to put on an event or whatever it might be. Sometimes there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes we like, well, I'm speaking at this event, someone else has set the date, that it is what it is. But maybe knowing that I'll be on my period, or the week before my period, I will the day before make sure I have a really quiet day and really look after myself, for example. So that sort of side of awareness. Obviously, when it comes to cyclical, the kind of cycles around the moon and the planets, we can plan around that as long as we know what they're doing. Generally, like you said, the moon really kind of tells us how everybody's feeling. It gives us a sense of the emotions for everyone. So we know that when, for example, when it's the time of a full moon, we tend to be like have more energy, everything feels a bit brighter, and then we kind of are going to be starting to slow things down and go into a more period of wintering and rest when you come to the new moon. Apparently, you know, before we had artificial lighting and things like that, our cycles generally did, hunter-gatherer kind of times, they did kind of work with the moon cycles. I mean, the moon has a 28-day cycle. The healthy female in fertile periods of her life should have around about 28-day cycle. I know that's not true for everybody, so it makes sense. And so people would bleed with the new moon, and then you'd be ovulating with the full moon. So wouldn't it be nice if we were all aligned like that and we just kind of flow with the moon? But that's just not the reality of, you know, of modern life. That's not the case for us.
Yeah.
But that just kind of just goes to show you how you can be perhaps a little bit more in touch with your cycles and just honor them a little bit. And I think also it's about how you feel about it. It's about embracing it. Like, I perhaps a few years ago would have just been really frustrated that I felt like this today, you know, and I was like, oh, I've got so much to do and I want to see clients. But I'm a bit more like my client came in this morning. I was like, oh, just to let you know, I'm just, you know, I'm just feeling a little bit dazed. So just excuse me if I'm, you know, if I'm a bit slow or whatever. Luckily it's someone I knew really well. So I just think, and it's also like I said about having a rest and just in like allowing it, not feeling the shame or frustration about it, but just being like, you know, that's how I am today. Because I just think the masculine linear 9 to 5 work model doesn't really allow for that. And the beauty of running our own businesses is that we can embrace our cyclical selves.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's so much that you can start to understand yourself so much better when you become more aware of these things. I think it's really important as a business owner to be sort of in tune with your cycles, with your moods, with your emotions, and, you know, with the moon as well, because, you know, we find that it is like it's uncanny, really, isn't it, when we're looking at the moon and what's happening, and then we're looking at what's happening in the world. It's like, oh wow, like this is it all fits, it all aligns. So yeah, definitely. I think something that's I want people to take away from this is really that, like, it's normal to be up and down throughout the month. Like I you know, you, like you said, you woke up this morning and felt a certain way. You know that it's not going to last. Like, you're not going to
Yeah.
always forever. So it is really important to just remind yourself of that. Like, you know, I'm a human being who's allowed to have like a crappy day, who's allowed to feel a bit low, and that's okay, and that will pass. And then, you know, in a few days you might be feeling absolutely elated and you don't know why you're feeling elated, and you're feeling great, and that will pass as well, because these emotions, they come and they go. And yeah, just use those kind of like motivated, high vibe type feelings to propel yourself through your business. And then in times of not feeling that way, you know, you can do maybe tasks that just don't take as much energy and just look after
Yeah.
yourself. We
Yeah.
really believe in making sure that you're caring for yourself all throughout the month, whether you're feeling great or whether you're feeling a little bit low and crappy. Just making sure that you've got those rituals, that we call them the Baba rituals, in place, so you can feel as good as you possibly can, or you can feel grounded. And that also really helps me anyway, when I'm feeling sort of up and down in the month.
Yeah, it's almost like giving yourself permission to be a human. You know what I mean? Because that's not how this is sort of productivity, success, and forever doing more and more and more and things getting bigger and better every day. Like, that's, it's just such a fake concept, isn't it? But that's the culture that we've grown up in. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, it feels quite rebellious and quite uncomfortable to kind of not try and fit that mold. So it's
Yeah.
very conditioned into us a lot. So I think it takes quite a lot of undoing. And yeah, those having those tools of those exercises, but also just having a space to grow that awareness, to get to know yourself better, to maybe track how you feel throughout your cycle. Like, even you can even track like business tasks, like if you've got a day when you're feeling like, oh, I could really say a lot, I could really write really cohesively, you know, then write that down, track it, and then for next month, oh, I've got, I want to get my content, my copy written. Oh, on this day of my cycle, I felt I was really on fire with that. And if you haven't got a menstrual cycle, then you can turn to the moon and track it with what's going on with the moon, or you can do both. So it's that sort of awareness of thinking, giving yourself space and time to kind of journal and think about how you're feeling and how your mood is, and then I think it is then really accepting and giving yourself space and time to use those tools to make yourself feel better and feel loved and cared for. And all of that should be part of your business strategy. It's not just a nice to have, or when I've got a quiet day, I'll do it. It really should be planned in to your week.
100%. I totally agree. And these are the things that we build in to the Baba membership. The Baba modules, like moon, we call it moon magic. We've got we have got modules on cyclical living, and all of these things you can access and have more information about, and have support implementing them into your business. So do check out the membership. We will link to our brand new webinar below, so you can take a look at how you can thrive in your birth or baby business. And you can drop us any questions you have over on Instagram.
Yeah, we'd love to see you in there, and we'll also see you next week for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.